Goldi may or may not have feelings for Winston, Miles is struggling with his own identity, and Hunter is starting to struggle with Yael's. Hello, I'm Carrie, and welcome to Degrassi Corner, and in this video, we're talking about episode 403, I Look Like A. So after Winston and Goldie put on a presentation for their prom theme idea, both Zoe and Rasha are convinced that Goldie has been flirting with Winston. Not only does she look at him a certain way, but the two talk to each other all the time, sometimes until 2 in the morning. Then out of nowhere, Goldie receives a dick pic from Winston on Chat. At first, she's completely stunned, but then shock turns to anger, and she yells at Winston for sending the picture just because she accidentally flirted with him. The only problem is, Winston has absolutely no idea what Goldie's talking about, and he's horrified to learn that he accidentally sent that dick pic to her when it was actually meant for Miles. And yes, he and Miles do this really weird thing where they send nudes to each other. Winston apologizes profusely, and now Goldie's the one feeling awkward because Winston now knows that she's been flirting with him. Later, Winston does a grand apology gesture, and the two say that they really love talking to each other and that they should just be friends. This story's pretty interesting because it presents the idea, or at least the opportunity, for the show to analyze how Goldie's feelings may challenge her faith. And we saw in season 3 that she couldn't even bring herself to high-five Winston. So what happens when she possibly starts having feelings for a guy, or the guy starts having feelings for her? Now, this plot doesn't really delve into connecting Goldie's behavior and her faith. Instead, it chooses to make another clear statement about consent on Degrassi Next Class. The most important scene is the one where Goldie's talking to Zoe and Grace about what happened, and Goldie actually says, quote, "I guess I got what I deserved." And thank God Grace is around to be the voice of reason when it comes to consent, because she points out that receiving an unsolicited dick pic is indeed harassment. Now, in this case, Winston obviously sent it on accident, but there's a lot of dudes out there who are just pieces of crap who just send that kind of stuff unsolicited to girls thinking they're being funny. And this is a reminder that consent applies to more than just sexual acts, my friends. Oh, and Goldie and Winston, I just think they're absolutely adorable in this final scene. The fact that they genuinely enjoy talking to each other, and it doesn't even have to be a romantic thing with them. They really enjoy each other's presence and being a part of each other's lives. Now on to the next plot in this episode. Mr. Mitchell has recommended that Miles talk with his friend who works at a prestigious creative writing program at the London Academy of Arts, and Miles agrees. However, Miles still has doubts about whether he's good enough, and he's already been accepted to another college. As a matter of fact, is actually the same college that his dad went to. And when Miles tells his dad about the creative writing program, Mr. H questioned if that's what Miles wants to do, and he does ask if Miles thinks he's good enough to succeed. And on top of that, Miles learns that he's eligible for this spot because it's for, quote, diverse applicants. In other words, they're looking for a gay youth to fill the spot. This leaves Miles feeling annoyed because he's not a guy who likes labels, and he thinks that he's only being considered for this spot because of his sexuality and not because of his writing skills. Miles basically bombs the interview because he's hell-bent on separating himself, being labeled as bisexual, and Mr. Mitchell actually ends up doing an exercise in class to show Miles that despite him being a privileged white male, he still has a unique voice that matters. And I'm sorry, Degrassi, normally I wouldn't post a full clip with audio in one of these reviews, but this is a really important scene, and me trying to explain it isn't going to do the scene justice. So here you go, the climax of Miles's plot in episode 403.
If you have ever experienced abuse, take a step back.
What, do you want me to admit that I'm messed up, that my dad's always been right about me? Fine.
That's not what this is about, Miles.
Then what's the point of this stupid exercise?
To show you the wealth of experience that has helped you shape your unique point of view.
My diverse point of view?
Diverse does not mean lesser than.
Then what does it matter if I'm bisexual? Why do I need a special spot?
You don't. But it's the one that exists, and you qualify for it. Your voice is underrepresented. It deserves to be heard, so it can help people.
Like who?
Your writing really helped me get past the bus crash.
And you also helped Goldie accept me and Rasha. You reached her.
did. She never told me.
I related to your play. And I'm not bi or white male, but I spent a lot of time in hospitals.
So after that scene, Miles ends up writing an eloquent apology to the woman that he did the interview with from the academy, and he makes it clear to his dad that he's going to make his own path and go to London instead of following in his dad's footsteps. So I'm not really sure what I should say. It's a Miles storyline, so of course it's awesome. But at long last, Miles finally acknowledges his sexuality, and it all ties into the very rocky relationship that he's had with his dad since before he even joined the show. We've seen how Miles' father has affected his life and caused him so much pain over the years, to the point where he has literally denied who he really is. What's even more impressive is that while we haven't seen all that much of Mr. Hollingsworth in Next Class, in this episode you do get a sense that he's different from the person he was in seasons 13 and 14. And it's a pretty beautiful thing to see growth from not one, but two Hollingsworth men in the same episode. And finally, taking a look at Yael's plot in this episode, the all-inclusive gang is taking their picture for the yearbook, but in it they notice Yael has armpit hair. Hunter asks Zig, Esme, and Frankie, and they all agree that girls shouldn't have armpit hair in photos, and Esme photoshops Yael's hair out. Yael isn't happy when she sees the Photoshop pic because she's not embarrassed by any of her body hair. Later, Hunter asks Yael to shave her armpit hair, and though she refuses, we learn that Hunter is worried that all of these changes Yael's going through, the body hair, the binder, the lack of desire to make out, means that she wants to break up with him. However, Yael reassures him that that's not the case. Degrassi is continuing to set the foundation for the big reveal when it comes to Yael's true self, and we see that Yael's comfortable with the changes happening and comfortable with not fitting into the social norms for how females should look. But what's really interesting about all of this is that Yael's also unsure of how to explain the changes to other people, and she also doesn't know why she feels the way she does. We're also getting a sneak peek into how Hunter's going to react in a few episodes when Yael makes some major changes. If your boy can't handle a little body hair, how in the world is he going to handle knowing that he's dating someone who identifies as anything other than a cis female? And that's it for this episode of Degrassi Corner, but the season 4 drama is far from over. Leave your thoughts on this episode in the comments section below, and don't forget to subscribe to Degrassi Corner for the latest Degrassi Next Class news, reviews, and more.